Hello and welcome back to Morsels and Motors. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to edit all these videos together, but today is Friday and I think that I would like, by the end of the day, to have the car actually running, which means rebuilding the entire fuel system. So I've done a separate video where I have disassembled and refurbished the carburettor. I kind of thought that some people would not want to watch me in detail struggling to take this apart, etc. But nevertheless, here it actually is, the finished product, and it looks really rather sexy, I have to say. All in beautifully clean nick. Essentially it went into my ultrasonic cleaner and I've rebuilt it with a new seals and gaskets kit that I obtained. Today's jobs then are to fit the fuel pump, fit the carburettor and the fuel lines between all of those, then fit the fuel tank and the fuel line or fuel hose to the main fuel line. And then I need to, before we can actually start the car, I need to fit the new alternator and the alternator belt and the water pump pulley in order to fit the alternator belt. And then we might be able to go for a start. Goodness knows what time it'll be by the time we get to there. Let's get cracking. Okay, progress so far. I have got the new fuel pump in place. I've got a new inline fuel filter and the carburettor is on. All the fuel lines are now connected and they'll be replaced with brand new fuel lines. Happy days. Oh, and rocker covers on as well. Next task is to get the water pump pulley back on and also to replace the alternator with a new one because that one looks a bit skanky, and I thought, well, you know what, in for a penny, in for a pound, may as well replace things that might fail. So you just need to remove the alternator, put the new one on, it looks identical, and then I need to put the water pump pulley on, then I can put the alternator belt on. Okay, that is my old alternator off the car. This is my sexy new one. Looks an awful lot cleaner and nicer than that one. To be honest, there isn't anything wrong with the one that was on the car, but I figured I'm replacing so much on the car as it is, I may as well, you know, replace everything that could fail. So we'll get a new alternator on. Incidentally, this was just from Euro Car Parts and it was about £63. Okay, new alternator is in place. My water pump pulley I've screwed in. So, well, alternator isn't quite in place, it needs that third bolt at the top. But I'm going to fit the new alternator belt, fan belt, whatever you want to call it, first, because I need to be able to move the alternator closer to the engine to slip the belt on, and then I'll bolt the alternator in place using on this kind of slidey thing, and that will tighten up the fan belt and we're good to go. Okay, that I think is what I would say is the definition of pretty damn sexy. New alternator belt, nicely tensioned, new alternator, new water pump hiding down there, new hoses, new radiator, rocker cover painted, carburettor redone. We're really getting there. Okay, this is my new fuel tank. It is actually a used fuel tank. Guy had a XR2 Mk1 and he had some trouble with kind of the fueling on it, so he bought a new tank thinking that was the issue. Took this off and discovered that actually it was really rather immaculate inside, so that the tank wasn't actually the issue. Beautiful, clean, gorgeous fuel tank. Very happy. It seemed to have been rusty a little bit on the outside, so it has been painted up on the outside at some point, but that's good, that protects it. So it is time to get all my little bits onto this and then get this bad boy into the car. Okay, this is my sender unit and fuel pickup. It's actually my original one. You may remember that it looked horrific before, but I've put it in the ultrasonic cleaner, it's come out really well, and I've given it a coating in POR-15 tank sealer to stop it rusting again. You might remember, I can't remember it in the video, but there was a pickup gauze filter at the end and that completely disintegrated. I couldn't find a direct replacement, but I have found this, which is actually supposed to be for a Volkswagen Beetle, but it'll do just the same. I'm just going to get a fuel clip and just kind of hold it onto there because it's a tiny bit too big, and that will do quite nicely as a little bit of a extra filterage. Well, now I'm underneath the car. I fitted the flexible fuel line onto the end of the hard fuel line. I have refitted the fuel filler neck which was an absolute pig of a job until I worked out that that plate there that you can see is unscrewable because that seal had slightly curled itself. Hadn't realised that was got 2 screws, so once I took the 2 screws off it was a reasonably easy doddle. Anyway, my next job is I've connected up the whatever it's called, sender unit, and I want to just double check that it still works after I've kind of cleaned it in the ultrasonic cleaner, etc. So I've connected up the wiring. I'm going to go and connect the battery up, and then I'm going to move it up and down a little bit and see if it actually registers something on the dashboard. That should be showing something now, because I've moved the arm up. Bum it. Well, I've gone inside with my sender unit and my multimeter and connected them up, and as I move the float up, the reading, the resistance does change. So it's about 0.202 when it's, whatever it is, when it's full, and 0.8 or whatever it is when it is empty. So it does work. So I'm guessing that I just wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't earthing properly or something like that when I was testing it out a moment ago. So I'm going to go ahead and fit it to the tank anyway and hope for the best when everything's actually connected up. Okay, fuel tank has been reassembled. That's the filler neck gasket seal thing. On the other side, the sender unit's in place with a new seal. Time to get it onto the car. Well, it's now a few days later, and I'm afraid to say I didn't quite manage to get everything ready and reassembled in the car running in one day. It was possibly a touch ambitious. I did get as far as getting ready to put the fuel tank on. I managed to get the filler neck in place. That was really hard to get all the seals right, because the new seals are really hard, because they're not proper old-fashioned rubber. I think they've been made from this kind of more modern polymer of some kind. Anyway, they're perfect fit, but they take a little bit of a shove. Anyway, got those in. I got the fuel tank ready to go with everything that was attached to it, the sender unit and that kind of thing, but I couldn't quite have the strength to kind of push it onto the filler neck. So the filler neck kind of stays on the car. It's a big metal pipe, and then you have to push the fuel tank onto it with a really tight seal. And I couldn't do that by myself. So the next day, my friend Oliver came over, and he and I worked together. We kind of really gave it a really good push. He pushed and I kind of wiggled, and we got it to set in the right place, screwed it on, and that was the fuel tank connected, and then obviously just had to do the fuel lines, or the rubber fuel line at the back. Oh yeah, whilst Oliver was here, we also used a wet vac on the seats, and as you can see, they really were quite disgusting, and the interior now smells significantly nicer. We've also given the door cards a bit of a clean and the dashboard, although that also needs a little bit more TLC, but we'll get to that. And then we went for a start, so we'll cut to the action. Ooh, the fuel tank's moved, the fuel gauge has moved. That's good, it works. It's below empty though, but okay. Just going to go and check if there's any fuel in the fuel filter. Doesn't look like it yet. Well, I've done a little bit of tweaking with the carburettor, and I'm quite happy with that. It obviously needs a proper setup, which I will do, but it runs. I've just driven it up and down the driveway a little bit, Hasn't cut out, it's okay. The clutch is very heavy and needs a little bit of lubing, I would say, the cable. But yeah, I'm really pleased. Woo! So the cooling fan has cut in. Well, there we have it. It's a running Fiesta. Yay! I'm so pleased. Everything, there's no leaks to start with in the cooling system or the fuel system. It all seems to work. The kind of base settings of the carburettor kind of were good enough for the engine to start. I did a few minor adjustments just to get it to tick over a little bit nicer. So yeah, brilliant. Next step, and in the next video, I'm going to replace the ignition system. And then do a fine adjustment of the carburettor, and then that will be all the kind of running mechanical components done. The only bit left to do after that is the brakes. So join me in the next video as I crack on with a few more of these tasks. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon. Bye.